call the roll. Excuse me.
Mayor, we actually would start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Oh, I've got it in the, oh, I'm sorry. I don't sure have my glasses on. I thought there's something that got sick. Okay, we do. And a moment of silence. Sorry. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, with liberty and justice for all. Can we have a moment of silence, please? Thank you very much. Now, Madam Clerk, would you call the roll? I apologize.
Thank you. Councilmember Mathey,
Here.
Councilmember Bolin,
Here.
Councilmember Milawambwe,
Here.
Councilmember Emig,
Present.
Councilmember Painter,
Here.
Councilmember Carrillo is absent. Councilmember Ward,
Here.
Councilmember Crable is absent. Councilmember Bray,
Here.
Mayor Renner.
Here, thank you very much. We do have a quorum, and we are going to move then to our COVID update by our distinguished city manager, Mr. Gleason. Tim?
Thank you, Mayor and Council. It's been a month, almost a month since we last met, and do have some COVID updates for the community. Letting the community know that the city has partnered with the health department and their emergency management agency to facilitate community vaccination clinics over the next 6 months and possibly beyond. We are fully committed to this joint effort, and we are using the Grossinger Arena for that as a facility. Second item, Bloomington Fire Department paramedics have been offered and have received their first injection of the COVID series. Next item, the health department will communicate clinic locations, timing to eligible populations as they receive the vaccine. Next item, if a citizen has questions that are not addressed on the health department website, they can call them directly and discuss with a staff member. Next item, as of today, the city has had 88 cases of employees that have tested positive. Does not include the number, which is much greater over the period of this 10 months that we've had to quarantine for a direct or an indirect exposure. These 88 cases of employees that have tested positive includes the library, seasonal, and contracted employees as well. And then all of us are keeping an eye on Governor Pritzker's next announcement on January 15th, seeing what comes next for our region. Thank you, Mayor.
Any questions of Mr. Gleason? Comments? Tim, I just have one. Do we have any inkling at this point of what some of the options might be for going forward on the 15th? Is it possible that there'd be some relaxation of that? Do we have any idea from ears on the ground in Springfield?
We do think so, but don't know that it's going to be that much different. But if our positivity numbers in McLean County are better, but they don't necessarily reach the 3-day threshold that we need. So we're cautiously optimistic that we might see slight changes is what we are hoping for, but we'll wait for the governor's announcement.
Thank you very much, Mr. Gleason. I just wanted to clarify that for the record. And I know that council members as well as myself have been lots of questions about, do we know? And obviously it's not our level of government, but we don't want to sound like we're just passing the buck. So I thank you for that update. We have something then, to clarify for our citizens. Excuse me. At this point, we don't have any recognitions or appointments, Madam Clerk, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Then we move to public comment. I know we've got quite a few on email. Do we have people standing by?
We do. We have 3 standing by. The first up is Kevin Lopez, and then next will be Maria Alvarez. Kevin, are you there?
Kevin?
Yes, I'm here.
Go
Good
ahead.
night. Good evening, everyone. And I would like to ask you to please vote yes on Welcoming Cities ordinance. It means a lot to us, so please support that. Vote yes on Welcoming Cities ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lopez. Maria Alvarez? Maria, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, go ahead. You have up to 3 minutes.
Okay, I just want to vote yes for the welcome cities.
You can continue.
Okay. No, but that's about it.
Okay, you just wanted to lend your voice for support. Is that correct?
Yes, I just want to support these what Jane Carrillo is passing.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, thanks.
Bye-bye. Next, Madam Clerk.
1 second. Sorry. Now, next up is Sandra Rosales.
Sandra, you might have to hit *6. Sandra?
Hi.
Yeah, you have up to 3 minutes, Sandra, starting now.
Hi. So my name is Sandra Rosales, and I've been living in Bloomington, Illinois for 21 years. And I really would love to for all of you guys to vote yes next Monday for the Welcoming Cities ordinance. I think the Hispanic or the immigrant community really needs some support for the people who is in charge of the cities to feel safer and live without fear that one day they're gonna be separated from their families. So I really would love to urge every one of you to vote yes next Monday for the Welcoming Cities ordinance that Jane Carrillo is gonna put up.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You have a good evening. Next week, we move to the consent agenda. And before we begin, item 8I I'm sorry.
Sorry. Mayor, if I could just read the list real quick of those who emailed public comment.
That's right. I apologize.
Thank
I remember I went through them. I'm sorry. I mentally jumped.
No problem. You started talking about it. So,
Yeah.
okay. So we had Sarah Greenberg, Gabriel Gutting, Jim Strangle, Jessica Heedle, Erica Larkin, Crystal Abel, and David Peters. Thanks.
Great. Thank you so much.
Also, I apologize. I also forgot to mention that there were 2 others, Bianca Pintor and Adrian Rosales, that registered to speak, but were not present in the meeting. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you. Also, just for the record and for my colleagues' information, item 8I under the consent agenda is being pulled by the developer, and we'll be voting on it at the next regularly scheduled council meeting. So under items the consent agenda, except for item 8I, are there any items that members of the council would like to pull or have questions? Excuse me, Councilwoman. God.
Ward. Yeah, that's me.
I'm gonna blame it on the pain meds. Go ahead.
No, I actually can't. I'm struggling here to find which item it is, but it was the one on Green Top Groceries request. Is that on the consent agenda? I'm sorry.
8K.
8K. Thank you.
Kangaroo.
Yes. So I need to pull that one because of a conflict.
Okay.
Of interest.
Gotcha. Are there any other items? If not, could I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented with the exception of item 8I?
I will make that motion. I will make that motion.
Made by Councilwoman Boland, second by Councilman Matthey. Any questions or comments on this? Okay, Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
So just to clarify, it's with the exception of 8K and 8I.
Correct.
Councilmember Matthey?
Yes.
Councilmember Boland?
Yes.
Councilmember Milawambwe,
Yes.
Councilmember Emig,
Yes.
Councilmember Painter,
Yes.
Councilmember Ward,
Aye.
Councilmember Bray.
Yes.
Great. Motion carries. No nays to announce, Madam Clerk. Now we're going to go to item 8K. In that, I'd let the record show that Councilwoman Ward wanted to make sure that she was recused for a possible appearance of a conflict of interest. Is there
Mayor,
a motion to approve this? Let's see, Councilmember Matthew.
I have to recuse also, please.
Oh, you do as well. Anyone else? I remember at one point we about had half the council that had to recuse themselves. Okay, we'll then go ahead and call the roll with the exception of the two members seeking to recuse themselves.
Can
wait,
I
we don't
please
have
have
a
a,
Yeah, I was asking, I assume, sorry. Did I see somebody's hand up? Can I count a nod as maybe?
Oh, I'll make a motion to
Councilmember-
approve.
Okay, moved by Councilmember Boland. Is there a second? Second by Councilmember Painter, literally with the number 2 victory sign. How could you go ahead and call the roll again? This is item 8K.
thank you. Councilmember Boland,
Yes.
Councilmember Milawambwe,
Yes.
Councilmember Emig,
Yes.
Councilmember Painter,
Yes.
Councilmember Bray.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Now we're going to move along to our regular agenda. And the first item under 9A is a presentation discussion on Connect Transit's activities and operations as requested by the administration. At this point, we will not, of course, need or require a motion because we're going to start with approximately 15 minutes of Connect Transit presentation and approximately 20 minutes of council discussion. Was there a question on that? Did I miss somebody's question? Okay. All right. At this juncture, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Gleason, who I think is going to turn this over to Judy Buchanan and Ryan Whitehouse or others from the Connect Transit Board.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Quick stop in between. Deputy City Manager Tyus is the Connect Transit City Representative, so I'm going to toss it to him to kick this off. Billy.
Thank you, Tim. Good evening, council members and mayor. As the manager said, I've served as the city's ex officio board member since I believe it was September, October of 2020. And the thing I can say is that it's been an incredibly busy time. There's lots of changes that some of which you know about, some of which maybe you don't, and also several really big initiatives that are progressing and opportunities that I think we're going to be excited about going forward. On the call, I believe we have Board Chair Ryan Whitehouse, and I can't see all the pictures. I think Judy Buchanan and Deb Presley are on, but yeah, it looks like it. And also General Manager Mark Peterson, who and Mark and I believe Ryan will give an update on transit operations and activities. So everyone take it away.
Well, thanks, Billy. I appreciate the opportunity here. Mayor and members of the council, good evening. Long time no see. I miss seeing you in person, and hopefully soon we can all be together. I'm here at Connect Transit with Mark Peterson, socially distanced, following all the protocols and making sure that we're taking it seriously. On the call, like Billy said, I just want to thank them for their service. We do have Secretary Judy Buchanan, Deb Presley, and Linda Foster, all Bloomington appointees, for their hard work and helping us be successful here at Connect Transit. I think there's a presentation, Billy. Are we projecting that up, or do they have that in their packet?
Leslie, there we go.
Thanks, Leslie. So that's if you want to flip to the next slide, please. I appreciate it. So I think we're all aware of this, but I think it's relevant to talk about the fiscal year 2021 operating budget. In total, we're about a $14.5 million operating budget. Those operating revenues come from the Illinois Department of Transportation. We give you specific numbers here, but $9.3 million, which accounts for about 65% of our operating budget. The federal government gives us about $2.1 million, or about 14% of the budget. And then our operating revenue, fares and advertising, is about $1.675 million, or 12%. Of course, with COVID, those numbers have changed. You can see also the local match, which we appreciate and need for the success of our system. Combined about $1.4 million or 9% of our operating budget comes from the city of Bloomington and the town of Normal, which is most important for you guys. Bloomington gives us $840,520 a year on that budget. Please change the slide. I think it's important that we talk about the COVID-19 policies and procedures. As a board, we had to take this. We do take this very seriously, and we've made some changes and making sure that not only our drivers are safe, but our customers are safe as well. We do have regular bus cleaning and disinfecting. I believe every 4 hours, buses are moved into the system and they get a deep cleaning. We hired more staff to do that. For safety, of course, we're not taking fares. So we have rear door boarding and boardings, and the face coverings are required. And then we do provide COVID-19 testing site services if people need rides to those locations for that. Like I said, fares have been suspended since March 18th of 2020. We've been fortunate that we can do that. It is a pretty large number that we've taken, but we do it. We have those suspended until March of this year, and the board will discuss in February whether we want to extend those suspended fares or not. But right now it's fare free until at least March 8th. In our fiscal year 19, our ridership was 2,513,591. And with our fiscal year 20 ridership, because of COVID, we are down 1,682,887 riders. I think that's about a 35% decrease in ridership that we've seen because of COVID. Can you please change the slide? So the great news that we like to talk about here with Connect Transit is our board and our community has been very successful in receiving a lot of grants this last year in 2020. And I give credit to our staff and to our riders. You don't receive this type of money without being a successful and efficient system. And of course, I thank our federal and our state delegations, elected officials, for their support in receiving this money. As you can see, we got in 2020, we got $9.92 million in the Rebuild Illinois Capital Program via Department of Transportation. That money we will use to improve service in the downtown Bloomington. You're aware of the service that we have in downtown Bloomington. It is a much needed improvement. We will purchase 4 35-foot electric buses. We will be taking our first inventory of electric buses fleet this year, and we have a contract for the next few years that have been paid for through grants. So we will have, once we are fully implemented, we will have the largest downstate electric fleet in the state of Illinois. And then, of course, something that we've been focused on as a board for quite some time is the bus stop improvements. That money will help us complete 90 of those stops. In addition to those grants, we received $8 million from the bus and bus facilities grants via Federal Transit Administration, the FTA. And that money has been completely designated to the use of the center, the downtown transfer station in Bloomington. And to just answer that question right away, as we're all aware, and I think we understand this, is that money has been awarded to the downtown transfer station. So that money must be spent on the downtown transfer station. We can't use that money or reappropriate it to another area of interest. That money must be spent on the downtown transfer station. Also in 2020, if you want to change the slide, please. Also in 2020,
do we have the slide change, please?
Yeah, please. Thank you. Yeah. Is we received grants for the solar infrastructure, and that project is underway here at our facilities here on Wiley Drive. That project was being installed ahead of bus delivery. That will offset facility energy consumption. We will be able to sell electricity back to the grid, and so that will offset some cost that we have here. And then we will have our first delivery of electric buses in September of October. And we got that grant of $600,250 awarded to Connect Transit to pay for that project. So we're excited. So all in total, in 2020, Connect Transit was awarded $18 million in grants from the federal government in the state of Illinois. Really an unbelievable amount of money to come to a system. And again, all the credit goes to the staff and the riders and elected officials in this community for supporting us on these projects. If you could switch, please. This is something that, you know, I know as council, everyone you're concerned about and you're compassionate about. You want to make sure we are still on task to be 100% ADA compliant with our bus stops by 2024. That's a huge accomplishment. We've been focused on that, and we have the funding to make it happen. So the problem is we just can't build them as quick as we can pay for them. So it just takes a little bit more time. So please be patient with us and we'll get this done. Total stops completed in fiscal year 2020 was 35. The total schedule for 2021 is 86. And the total schedule for fiscal year 2022 is 100. Also for our riders and just the general public or anyone that's interested, we do have an interactive map launched on our website. We launched that in 2020 that displays the status of every bus stop in the system. It says where it is in the line to be fixed or updated and all that stuff. So people can see where we are on the Better Bus Stop campaigns. If you switch to the next slide, please. This was an issue that the board, the Connect to the Future recommendations, our board took seriously, and we implemented those recommendations. And we actually have 2 board members that were current board members that were actually a part of those working group recommendations, Deb Presley and Linda Foster. So the recommendations, the one rate for all, $1.25, that will take effect when we resume taking fares. Now that one rate for all is whether that's on fixed route, which is the buses that you see driving down the roads, or if it's the Connect Mobility, which is the door-to-door service, it's a one rate for all for $1.25. We expanded the Connect Mobility services to the town and city limits. Before there were zones and districts, we expanded it to the city limits. So that's a great addition. And the Better Bus Stop campaign completion in 2024, we will have that done and it's fully funded. Future action can occur with additional funding, and the board will be looking to that to go forward. If you change the slide, please. Thank you. In 2020, we had great news, but then we had some changes as well. We had a general manager, Isaac Thorne, leave our system for a great opportunity, and we had to hire, get a new general manager. Mark Peterson is in that role right now as our interim, helping us make sure that we move forward. We as a board decided to hire a firm that is known in the industry and known in this country as an expert firm that can get in there and know the transit industry and understand where these representatives work and try to find the best general manager we can for our system. So we did hire the firm Harris Rand Lusk. It is from New York. The gentleman that we are working for, though, is an Illinois-born individual. He's from Rockford, Illinois, originally, so he's aware of the Midwest in our community. So we're looking forward to him. The firm has interviewed the Connect Transit Board of Trustees and senior staff about what we're looking to try to accomplish with this new general manager. And the GM search community survey, we do have a community survey that we were asking the public to fill out and tell us what they're looking for in a new GM. Encourage you as members of the council to fill that out as well. Also happy to have conversations with you. But that is live on the Connect Transit website to gather that. And the position is to be posted in late January. So, and then so we will post the position in late January, and the hiring decision will likely be made in March of 2021. And so we can hopefully have a new general manager here soon. Next slide, please. One of the things that we used to do that has been requested of us, and we are happy to bring back to the system, is the route review process. Submissions can be made from community members via the website. If they have an idea of where a bus route should be, they can submit that to us through our website. The operations will investigate requests applying data-driven analysis, results of the analysis presented to the board committees, And then the final determination will be reported back to the originator of the request. So we have that process kind of in place now. We look at routes routinely about every 6 months to see what's working and everything. But the individual that requests these routes will get a final answer given back to them. And then the implementation of the new route review process is expected in March of 21. So here in the next 2 months, we should hopefully have that. Next slide, please. What I'm most excited to talk about with you tonight, and I hope that you're excited to talk about too, is our Downtown Transportation Center project. I am excited to announce we are fully funded for this project. We have the money ready to go to build this project. So we do have a project manager retained. The site analysis study is nearing completion. We hope that in this month, those final 3 locations will be announced. I understand it's taking a little bit longer than expected. Those that know me know that I wanted this done soon as well. My patience kind of runs thin. We are trying to move this as quick as possible, but also making sure that FTA and Department of Transportation are in those conversations, and we make sure that we follow all the processes before we do that. So hopefully here in January, no guarantees, but the hope is in January, we will be able to announce the 3 site locations. And then the final site selection hopefully will be in March, and we can proceed with some site acquisitions to get the projects going. So with that, next slide, please. With that, Mayor, council members, city managers, I'm here to answer any questions on this. And if I'm not smart enough to answer it, Mr. Peterson's here to pass me some notes. So back to you.
There we go. Thank you very much. We appreciate all your work. Thank you, Ryan. Thank you, Judy Buchanan. Thank you to Mark Peterson and others, the entire board, Deb Priestley and others. Thank you all for your work on this. This is definitely exciting, not just to improve the transportation in our city and our entire community, but it's also a very, very important economic development tool. Having a mobile workforce is critical, but having a downtown transfer center will also help revitalize downtown, because capital investment will always attract more capital. So we very much appreciate this. At this point, we're going to go to approximately a 20-minute council discussion. Who would like to go first? Whoever hand I can get.
Mayor, it looks like you have Councilmember Bray and Councilmember Bolin with their hands up.
Oh, I didn't see. Okay, we'll start with, in the order you mentioned them then, Councilmember Bray and then Bolin.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you so much, Ryan, for that very pointed and thorough presentation. And I want to thank you for your service, as well as Judy and Deb, and appreciate Mark Peterson stepping in to help out the community at this time. My question is a process-related question, and it relates back to the last part of your presentation and the discussion of the 3 finalist locations for the downtown center. And I'd like to know the role that the city will play in steering that selection. So if you could give me kind of a process, that I'm kind of leaning on the process at this point. But
yeah, sure. Thanks, Councilwoman Bray. Thanks for the question, and thanks for thanking me for the service. I appreciate that. So to that, of course, the city of Bloomington will be, will be at the table to have those conversations. We look at this as a partnership. I've committed that to you and others, that like this is a joint project for downtown Bloomington, and really for the city of Bloomington as well, and for our writers. So we're going to do that. So it's in process where we are right now, and I know, again, I mentioned this is taking longer than I thought would, but there's, we had to do studies, because you understand when you get all this grant money, you got to follow all these rules and processes. We hired Farnsworth Group to do the study. We had a technical advisory group that we worked with of community leaders from the downtown area and across the community. So what we've done is all that first step of taking all that information in, then Farnsworth Group, and then also other consultants with traffic patterns and safety, they compile these 3 locations, and they will release that. Then the conversation will turn to stakeholders, right? Ultimately, the Connect Transit Board will be the vote that makes what decision, but we will be looking to the city of Bloomington to help facilitate, to make sure that we fit into the plan of downtown Bloomington, that we make sure that everyone is at peace with this. So as in process, again, we'll have it released, then we'll open up to stakeholders groups. We'll identify those, we'll talk to City of Bloomington, and then we'll ultimately have a final decision on what the best location is based on the data of what we're trying to accomplish. Hopefully I answered that question for you, Alderwoman.
So thank you for that. That's very helpful. So I heard you say that the City of Bloomington, considering that this is a city location, and of course we'd like to weave in our philosophy as the elected officials into where this site works best overall for the city, that we will have some conversations in advance of the final selection. And so I guess I'm looking to Tim, and I guess Billy, you're carrying the ball for us on some of the Connect Transit. Can we look forward to having 3-in-1 scheduled in order to visit on those possible sites? Or, again, getting in the weeds, but I do like to just make sure there's no misunderstandings and we're all on the same page about what process we can expect.
Just to clarify, Mr. Gleason, as I understand, we're in constant contact with each other because we're collaborative, but ultimately it is the decision of Connect Transit where to spend the money that they've put grants out for. Is that correct, Mr. Gleason?
It is, but the interaction that we've had with Ryan and Billy has been very involved in this. They're keeping us abreast of every step along the way. We do have 3-in-1s regarding the budget and this topic coming up. But Alderwoman Bray, if you're looking for a hard answer, the decision-making does lie with Connect Transit, but obviously we're going to be involved in this along the way.
And then we do have half the board are essentially Bloomington reps too. But okay, I'm sorry.
So I appreciate
you want to follow up?
Thank you.
Sorry.
Thank you for that. Thanks. More to come. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Councilmember Boland.
Councilmember Boland. Oh, you got it.
I got it. I appreciate Alderman Bray asking a question because I was concerned about that also. I have my own opinion, but I guess I won't share it here. I have some questions about, you said the savings for the solar panels will be more than enough and you will be able to sell electricity back. Does that include for charging, or is that only for heat and air conditioning within the facility on Wadley?
Yeah, good to see you, Councilwoman Boland. Yes, we will be able to provide electricity to this facility through charging, through running the day-to-day operations of the system, and still sell electricity back to the grid.
Okay. That's nice to know. Then I have another kind of hypothetical questions. You're doing all this Better Bus Stop and having feedback from the community, which I think it's great for the routes. What happens if this new general manager comes in and wants to shake everything up and do all sorts of changes?
Well, that's always an option, but remember that the general manager works for the board of trustees that you and the town of Normal appoint. So this board is pretty confident and committed to the Better Bus Stop campaign, and we have been since we started it. So that hypothetical could happen. I don't see that happening because our board's committed to the Better Bus Stop campaign.
Okay. And along those same lines, have you been interacting with the McLean County Regional Planning Commission? They were going to do some studies, I believe, about the demographics where the individuals might live that would be most likely to take the bus.
Yes, remember we did that study before, and I know that we did the study before about laying the data that the regional planning has on top of the data of where our routes are. And remember that study came back pretty conclusively that our stops are where the density and where the ridership is located. And I do know that staff is there's constant conversation with regional planning on how to better, make sure that Connect Transit's always in making sure that we're providing transportation needs for our community.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Councilmember Bray. Oh, I'm sorry, Councilmember Bray, I apologize. Oh my gosh, got the dates wrong. Anybody else? I'm sure we have
Mayor, we have Councilmember Milawambwe and Councilmember Emig.
We'll do it in that order. Councilmember Mboka Milawambwe.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Ryan, Judy, Mark, for this presentation. It certainly is insightful. So as an administrator at ISU, I'm always interested in process. So I have a number of process questions. First, I want to thank Councilmember Bray for asking about our involvement with the decision to choose the site for the downtown transportation center, because I had a similar question as well. So first quick question is, you said we were fully funded for the transportation center, and what's the actual amount? I do remember a while back a conversation about $12 million or something like that.
Yeah, great question. We have $18 million for the downtown transfer station.
Okay, that's awesome.
Yep.
Okay. And where is the other 10 coming from?
Well, we have the original. We got the $9 million from the Department of Transportation grant. We got the $9 million from FTA, the $3 million from the capital plan from before that our local earlier this spring, and we just received, most recently another $8 million that we will use to help finish the funding of the downtown transfer station, but also purchase more buses to help modernize our fleet.
Okay, awesome. So other question about process, which is about the general manager hiring process. So it's somewhat of a similar question to the downtown transportation center question. What are the opportunities for council members' input, but also community in general? How do you see the process transpiring? The hiring individual?
Great question. Here's where we are. We've hired the firm. The individual has talked to senior staff here and the board of trustees here. What we will do then next is we will meet as a board with that firm. And the reason we hired them is because they do this all over the country, and they understand the stakeholder groups and all that stuff. What we've decided as a board is we are going to meet with them and let them share some of the best practices of how to do this most effectively. As chair, I've kind of said that from the beginning. I want to rely on the experts that do this to share with us as a board what are the best practices, what are things that work, and what are things that don't work. So I'll just tell you from my own perspective, I'm sure there are things that I think that probably work really, really great that might turn out to not work so great, or vice versa. So I can't answer specifically what the steps are until we have that meeting with the firm to see what the best practices are. But I promise to you, and I'll commit to you again, and I've committed to this council and normal council as well, the elected bodies will have some input on this. And other stakeholders groups will also be a part of those conversations. I promise you that.
Okay, so do you envision some sort of a public forum for other community members to kind of participate?
I don't want to commit to anything because I don't know. And quite truthfully, with what we're trying to accomplish, I don't have an answer, but I also say this: we're trying to get this done within the next 60 to 90 days, depending on where we are with COVID situations. In-person things probably aren't going to happen, but all opportunities are on the table. If you or other council members have some desires, Staff and I are happy to hear those, and we can take those to the table and talk to the consultants and say, do these ideas work well in this type of format? So hopefully that answers that.
Okay. It looks like Judy has something.
Judy, go ahead, Judy.
Both Deb and I have our hands up, and I suspect we're thinking of the same thing. Ryan mentioned earlier the survey that is online. It's on our website, and we're really reaching out to all of you and our entire community of riders and all interested stakeholders. So I would encourage you, as Ryan has done, I know Deb will do, to please complete that survey, because that's a good way to get the input.
Thank you, Judy. And that's also something that not just people who have ready access to a computer and understand how to operate a computer with a Zoom meeting, this might be more representative to look at broader survey data, but also Connect has now gone through pretty close to 2 years of an open series of public forums. So I think we've certainly improved. It seems like you've certainly improved in that direction. Did Deb Presley want to speak? I can't see Deb.
I was going to share what Judy did. The survey's out there, and that's a way for everybody to have an opportunity to get their voice heard. And I know that it's widely being distributed among different stakeholder groups within the community right now.
Sure. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. Other council members?
Mayor, we have Councilmember Emig and Councilmember Bolin.
Okay, in that order, Emig, and then back to Councilmember Bolin.
Thank you, Mayor. And I appreciate the presentation, Chairman Whitehouse, and all of you I thank you for your service. You answered most of my questions. I was going to ask how you were trying to drum up participation in the online surveys, because we have so many riders and constituents who really depend on this service, and it would be really useful to hear their point of view. And in the past, I think a lot of our constituents have demonstrated that they really want the system to be responsive to coverage, right? That we're really making sure that we are providing access from all points. So my question is just to follow up on other ways that you're trying to drum up this response from the community. And also to reiterate that as a council, we look forward to being part of any conversation that has to do with route changes.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Engelman. Yeah, so we are on the website. Like I said, we've done press releases. We are using social media. I understand that that's all technology driven as well. Hopefully tonight's platform will also make people aware of that. Open to partnerships with both the city and the town to advertise this on your websites as well, if that's something of interest. I think Trustee Presley mentioned it is being shared with other stakeholder groups. We are trying to go above and beyond to get this done, and those comments. I also, again, without knowing specifically, I trust that the search firm will be able to help us get this information out. They know these best practices to try to pull that information from groups and stakeholder groups. And we can report back those processes once we have those in place. It's just, I don't have all those, the board of trustees and myself don't even have all those processes figured out completely yet.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I would just say on that, with respect to a survey, one thing that many bus systems have used, small or large, are directly bus user surveys that are almost have very little cost to them. And if you guys decide, I'm just giving an offer, Ryan, if you decide to do that, you'd also separate the responses from those who ride from the way that you have collected the other data. But if you got a firewall there and you want people to do it, if you guys will collect it, I'll make sure that it's data clean driven, and we'll do the analysis at Illinois West. So again, you'd want to keep it separate from the survey that you've collected through your other processes or online, just so that you could compare the results. And there are also ways to ensure, well, not ensure, but help guard against people voting. I used to make jokes like Chicago, but this is not a political environment to say that about double counting. But so people are only voting once who are your riders, or close as possible to being once.
Thank you, Mayor.
Sure. Anybody else? Let's see. I'm sorry, Bolin. Councilmember Bowler.
Yeah, I have one more hypothetical question for you, Ryan. I have been reading, I keep up on this transit stuff, and I've been reading that there are several municipalities, actually some of them large, that are setting aside their transit system in favor of rideshare. And with technology changing exponentially, has the discussion been had about that, rather than just focusing on purchasing a large fleet of buses, but having a conversation about, well, what will it look like in 5 years?
Yeah, so roughly, and I'll tell you why. I've had these conversations when I've been out to DC with our agencies, our elected officials. The problem with rideshare services right now is that takes all federal monies off the table. That FTA and Department of Transportation, we have transit systems have strict guidelines and rules that we must follow. Rideshares don't have those. So if we were to get rid of or set aside the transit system, all those federal dollars, and remember I read those to you, 65% of the funding comes from the Department of Transportation in Illinois, 14% comes from the federal government. If we set aside our system, those monies are no longer available to our community to spend.
Good answer. Thank you.
Anybody else? Madam Clerk, can you help me? Do you see anybody's name? Or
That's it.
Okay. Thank you all. And thank you again, Ryan and others, for all the work that you've done. This is fantastic news. You've not only proposed something and are going to be a critical part of, as I say, the macro level development in our community, but also the development of downtown and making downtown a more accessible place for people, regardless of their ability to drive. And we may even have situations where people who might want to come down and they may downtown that they do it on Connect Transit to the new downtown center. And so I look forward to this. I was just like you, Ryan, I'm impatient too. I was hoping that this would break ground or maybe start to show some form before while I'm still mayor. So I'm looking forward to whatever you can do.
Yeah. Well, thanks for the opportunity. We will try to do it as quick as possible, but make sure it's done appropriately. So good things are coming to Bloomington in reference to Connect Transit. So looking forward to all those opportunities. Thank you.
Thank you again. Wonderful time. Excuse me, let me grab my glasses. I'm sorry. We have item 9B, consideration and action on a resolution authorizing city's participation in the welcoming network operated by Welcoming America, as requested by Councilmember Donna Bolin. And we have we've obviously talked about this several times, but now is the time for an action. And that is, I'm going to turn it over to Councilmember Bolin for a brief review of her proposal and summary, anything she wants to say for up to 5 minutes, and then approximately 20-minute council discussion. Councilwoman Bolin, you got the floor.
Thank you. I want to, first of all, thank Mr. Jurgens for all the work that he's done, and the little packet insert is just really great. And I want to start out by saying that Welcoming America promotes belonging by breaking barriers between the immigrant community and the rest of the population. And it does it by offering an invitation to collaboration and by offering it with an open hand rather than a closed fist. I had a 1-hour meeting with the Midwest Regional Manager for Welcoming America to address all the comments that were brought forward by the council, as well as public comments that were made to the council. And Welcoming America does not differentiate between documented and undocumented, because by that very statement, that would be discrimination. So, and also there are many reasons for not being undocumented. I'm not sure what they all are, but I do know that we have the immigration project that handles a lot of those issues. Welcoming America does provide a wide depth and breadth for the community and inclusion. It stresses inclusion, as a matter of fact, for the immigrant community in the process of developing this initiative. And I also want to stress that there is an economic impact and contribution of the immigrant community. We cannot ignore that. And I have said this before, and I will say it again multiple times, that the quality of the process will determine the quality of the product. And I want to stress this is a process. This is not a one and done. This will take time and a lot of effort from not only the corporate entity of the city, but the community at large. And I'll give you some examples of civic engagement, which would be from the government leadership. We provide a catalyst and we would provide the accountability. And a specific example of that would be the Human Relations Commission. Their primary responsibility is to eliminate unlawful discrimination within the city of Bloomington. And their mission is to foster tolerance and mutual respect through education, public awareness programs, support making the city of Bloomington a welcoming place that promotes diversity and inclusion, respect for individual, and dignity for all. That completely matches the Welcoming America initiative. We have a diversity director. He also probably would support everything I just said that the commission provides. The Economic and Community Development Department would function through equitable access and removing barriers for any immigrants that would want to start a business, or if they need, if they have issues with code violations, that needs to be taken care of and be very sensitive to language barriers or any other barrier that might exist for the immigrant community. And then, of course, there's HR, which would be responsible for training and onboarding. And again, if we provide the city with all the documentation from the state and have it on the website so that people are aware of what the documentation is, such as a copy of the Trust Act, or at least a link to the Illinois government website, the Know Your Rights document, Keep Families Together Act from 2019, the Employee Rights in the Workplace for Immigrants, and also the guidance of law enforcement, which is used for training of the Bloomington Police Force. That's a directive from the Office of the Attorney General from the state of Illinois, and it dictates the interaction with federal agents. The community engagement would be community organizations which should build relationships and promote collaboration. The educational institutions, I hope, would begin providing 21st century skill sets in order to improve the employment opportunities for the immigrant community. And we are very fortunate to have the Immigrant Project, which provides legal assistance and service to the immigrant community, which includes adjustment of status, DACA, employment authorization, naturalization and citizenship, temporary protected status, Violence Against Women Act, and U visas, which protect immigrants that wish to report crimes. And again, I'm going to say the quality of the process will determine the quality of the product. And the product, we do not have to become certified. For me, that's not necessarily the goal. My goal is to actually become a welcoming city and design it that it's unique to Bloomington. I'm not asking Welcoming America to come in with their initiative and lay it over Bloomington. What from the conversation I had with the regional director was that you use the resources that are available from Welcoming America and you apply it specifically to the areas that you need and want to improve. So that's all I have to say. Thank you. Oh, no, I'd like to make a motion to approve.
Okay.
Approve this.
Okay, is there a second? Again, this is just for purposes of make sure we have a motion on the floor. This is not obviously cut off debate in any way. We haven't begun the debate. Councilmember Bray, it looked like your hand was about to go up before I opened my mouth. Is that right?
I'll second the motion.
Okay.
Thank you.
Perfect. That's what I thought. So we have a motion made by Councilmember Boland, second by Councilmember Bray. Discussion, comments.
Mayor, you have Councilmember Matthew with his hand up.
Oh, I'm sorry, Jamie. I didn't see it. Go ahead. Councilmember Matthew.
Thanks, Mayor. And thank you, Donna, for bringing this forward. I appreciate that. This is something that former Councilmember Schmidt had been talking about when we were going through these discussions a few years ago. And I liked the idea back then, and I still like the idea now. You know, I think that the topic of immigration in the United States is still volatile, but we have to remember that in Bloomington, we have immigrants from many different places around the world, not just from Mexico and Latin America and South America. So, you know, we need to, I look forward to a process like this to make sure that everybody that comes to Bloomington is welcome and finds an environment where they can be successful. And there are a lot of people in the community to think that this is an either this or the welcoming cities. And I reject that notion. I think that they actually have the potential to work really well together hand in hand. I know that's not your original intention, but I'll be supporting this and I'm interested in the conversation next week as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Thank you, Councilmember Matthew. And just to make it clear, immigration has always been a really hot topic. You know, we did have open immigration rules for about 3/4 of a century. It's what America became a melting pot. But the first third party in American history over half a century and was an anti-immigrant party. And actually, we had an anti-immigrant party mayor in the late 1850s, just as a fun fact. This was sometimes called the Know Nothing Party, the anti-Masonic party. Other comments on this?
Mayor, we have Councilmember Milawambwe with his hand up.
Oh, sure. Mboga.
Unmuting self. Thank you. Yeah, so I want to say thank you to Donna for bringing this up. I think this has been a topic of conversation in the past in some of my circles. And I know back then already, maybe about 6 or 7 years ago, people were really pondering this question. You know, how do we help immigrants who come to Bloomington and help them acclimate? In some other circles that I've been a part of, there have been issues dealing with cultural understanding of how America functions, sometimes legal issues that can get immigrants in difficult situations, but also just even business, how to start a business, access to healthcare, and things like that. So I think this is a good idea. It gives us an opportunity to work with something not from scratch. It just provides some sort of a framework, so we don't have to reinvent the wheel. But just like you said, we also get an opportunity to to apply it to our own city and look at the things that are very specific to us. So to that extent, I think hopefully, in the process, there are opportunities to survey the local immigrant populations to find out what are those challenges that are unique to Bloomington, and then to see how we can incorporate that in whatever it is that we do. If I have I've looked at other documents where people discuss having sort of academies and things like that, kind of similar to Bloomington 101, to help immigrants, learn and teach them about, the different, whether it's culture, legal, even, dealing with the police, the court system, and those kinds of things. And even, folks who would be renters, about city policies and things like that. But I do envision at some point, maybe some sort of maybe a welcome center where, as a one-stop shop where people can go and really interact with all the different services that would be helpful in facilitating their acclimatization to the city of Bloomington. So thank you. I think it's this is the kind of stuff that get my intellectual juices flowing, because it's there's some work to do here, and I think there's definitely lots of positives to look at. Thank you.
Anybody else before we call for the question?
It's everyone with their hand up.
Oh, there is nobody? Okay, I didn't think so. Okay, sorry. I don't necessarily always catch hands depending on how your camera's angled. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll? We have a motion and a second.
Councilmember Matthey?
Yes.
Councilmember Boland?
Yes.
Councilmember Melawambe?
Yes.
Councilmember Emig?
Yes.
Councilmember Painter?
Yes.
Councilmember Ward?
Aye.
Councilmember Bray?
Yes.
Thank you very much. At this point, we go to item 9C, consideration potential action regarding an ordinance amending the local emergency ordinance, and that is 2020-18, to allow the continued proration of the city's liquor license fees as requested by the legal department. And I'm going to go ahead and turn this over to our city manager, Mr. Gleason. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I do want to share exactly what this change that's on the floor for council to consider tonight. This amendment clarifies that the city will prorate the liquor license fees for liquor license holders that had to close their business due to the state's restrictions. Number two, applies to closures that occurred in 2020 and that may occur in 2021. The previous ordinance provision only contemplated these establishments being closed for indoor service and limited staff's ability to provide prorations. And some additional items. For the 2020 refunds, applications must be filed with the clerk by March 1st, 2021, if approved tonight. And then also to qualify, the liquor license holder must have closed due to the state's requirements and not providing any service. That'll do it, Mayor.
Much. Do we have, can we start this off perhaps with a motion in a second?
I'll make that motion, Mayor.
Moved by Councilmember Bray, second by Councilmember Luambwe. And so at this point, comments on this? From my vantage point, it does seem to be a very equitable, fair thing for us to do. But I would like to hear what my colleagues have to say. Councilmember Matthey.
So just to clarify, this is for locations that are completely closed. If we've got a location where they're still doing takeout service, and I know that we have a few places under the current rules that are actually doing where you can get takeout beer or margaritas or whatever it might be. So if this is only for the people that are completely closed right now.
That is correct.
Do we have an idea of how many of our liquor license holders that is? Is that 10% or?
Mr. Gleason, I'm sorry, you're muted. Sorry.
No, sorry. I was talking across the dais to the city clerk. And actually, I'm going to ask her.
Yeah, so I was Just saying, Tim, that we don't have an estimate right now. Last time when we did them in 2020, the numbers that we guessed on came back higher. With that said, even just today, I'd say my department's probably had 8 to 9 phone calls about what's happening with this. So I hate to say I don't have a number, but in general, that's kind of the answer. And with that said, it will also be prorated based on the time that they're closed. So if things change with the governor, et cetera, they might choose to do different things. It does say too that they can apply separately. So if they were closed for a month, they can do it. They decide to open, the governor changes directions, things like that. They'll be able to apply for more than once. Whereas last time we limited it to the one request, which I think tied hands a little bit more.
Okay, so they could say like, I was open until the weather got bad and I shut down for October through February, and I'm going to reopen when the weather warms up a little bit in March or something.
That's exactly right. Whereas last time they had to stay closed consecutively, and they could only apply for the proration once.
Okay, thank you.
Other comments, questions? Do you see any? I don't see anybody. At this point, we have a motion on the floor and a second. No further comments. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Thank you. Councilmember Matthey.
Yes.
Councilmember Bolin.
Yes.
Councilmember Milawample.
Yes.
Councilmember Emig.
Yes.
Councilmember Painter.
Yes.
Councilmember Ward.
Aye.
Councilmember Bray.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. Motion carries 7-0. No nays to announce, Madam Clerk. That's a pattern tonight. Next, we go to City Manager's discussion. Mr. Gleason, you've got the floor.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I guess I will start out by saying Happy New Year to the community. And I don't think anybody's wanting 2020 back, but we sure did come in with a bang, though, with the ice storm that turned into a snowstorm with about 4 inches of very wet and heavy snow. And then not until tomorrow, if the forecast is accurate, we have had overcast weather that has compounded, the problems with the trees, poles, wires, and such. And hopefully tomorrow we'll have the first opportunity for melting what we received the first couple of days of January. But I do want to share what our city staff actually accomplished. Public Works had 31 roads that were closed the beginning of Monday on January 4th. There is only one road that is still closed, and that's due to power lines and some other issues related to a fallen tree. Crews were able to open up a number of locations on the afternoon of Sunday, January 3rd. Using 4 end loaders where wires were not involved, but there were several locations where wires were involved. We think of Public Works, but the Parks Division, when we're talking about down trees and stuff like that, it's actually our parks crews. Forestry had 301 calls by last Friday afternoon. Public Works office staff took 181 calls. On Monday, January 4th. Of those calls, 77 of them were related to trees down, limbs down, brush collection. Most of those calls were forwarded to the Parks Department. Public Works office staff also responded to several emails, calls transferred to the hub and other departments. The Public Service Division used approximately 2,500 tons of salt. The Public Service Division used approximately 1,400 gallons of fuel. And the Public Service employees logged over 1,000 hours of overtime that was charged to snow and ice, and that actually continues. And then we had one main break during this time period as well. So I think we did a decent job of messaging updates to the community. Saw a lot of positive comments in social media, but this was a big event that we are climbing out of, and that will continue for the days ahead. The other thing that I wanted to share is on Saturday, this past Saturday, January 9th, It was Law Enforcement Appreciation Day, and I wanted to recognize the Bloomington Police Department and share appreciation for what the men and women do for the community. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you very much. And just wanted to echo some of what Mr. Gleason said in terms of Happy New Year, and just thank him and the Public Works staff and others for doing a tremendous job. I got so many positive comments about how quickly the city came out, or the quality of the job, the diligence of our workers. In fact, when they were cleaning up in front of my house the other day, I went out and thanked the crew that happened to be out there. And so this was something that could have been devastating in many ways. It's obviously a deadly thing. So I'm so happy, so proud of our administration. Thank you, Mr. Gleason. Thank you to staff. The other thing, a couple things I just want to note, and before I end on a heavy note, but I'll be giving a State of the Union, State of the City address. I don't know, this is probably an environment where I could say I wasn't even on the ballot, but I won that election. But I'm joking about the national election. But I'll just give a State of the City. This will be my last one, and I certainly hope that whoever is elected mayor will continue that. I think it's important to give an assessment of where we've been and where we're going and what's perhaps possible, and call to action. Because one of the things that all the research shows us is if you want really policy change and to adapt to your community or your state, having strong elected executive leadership at either the state level or the city level is very important in having that happen. So I certainly look forward next year to having the mayor who succeeds me give this, and I'll be paying close attention at that time. But one other thing I want to thank staff on, and in sort of an odd way, I seem to go from having all kinds of physical ailments lately. I go from having COVID to having severe lower back issues that aggravated my sciatic nerve. And holy cow, I spent the first time in an ambulance that was moving yesterday morning, and the staff was really good. They were wonderful. Our 911 staff are great. And they were here in about 4 minutes from when I was laying on the cement snowy ground of my driveway, and they picked me up. So thank you, staff. The other thing that I wouldn't just be remiss, I'd be a horrible mayor if I didn't at least address the events of the last week. And I want to say I never, ever in my life thought that I would ever see this. And I've spent my life since I was in my early single or late single digits studying and analyzing the American democracy or democratic institutions. I never thought when people said that it was fragile, I was so dismissive of it. We're the oldest democracy, the oldest place on the planet that you can find large numbers of masses during the era of Andrew Jackson mobilized for political action. We have no record in human history where that's really happened. And so America as the beacon of democracy was something I always had the greatest respect for, and I do. But I do realize after the events of this week, I hope we realize that they are very fragile. If we've got a system where within a fairly short period of time, we have some people building a hangman structure with a noose, chanting and calling for Mike Pence to be hanged, our sitting vice president. Whether you like him or you don't like him, that's just crazy. I mean, this is just so over the top. And so this is something that is not a particularly good day in our nation's history, except we did survive. And I hope that in the long term, it'll show that our democratic institutions and separation of powers held, the levees held in spite of all kinds of things that we could never have predicted, I think, in the past. I just hope that we use this opportunity to respect that, to continue to be involved, because only when good people are involved are we going to have a stable democracy, people who are going to appeal to our similarities rather than exploit our differences and rub salt into those. So again, I think it was a sad day for our country. I'm hoping that this will be a proud next few weeks as we move beyond this. And that's all I have. Any members of the council, if you maybe raise your hand close to your, wherever you go. Okay, Councilmember Matthew.
Thanks, Mayor. I just also wanted to say thank you not only to the crews, Public Works and Forestry, but also to all of the residents who were wandering around neighborhoods helping each other. Dimmitt's Grove had a lot of very, very large branches down, and people were 5, 6, 7 people ganging up to drag trees off to the side to at least get the roads open until the city crews could get there. Luckily nowhere where there was wires down, but I really appreciated seeing residents teaming up and working together to get stuff done while waiting for the city to get there as well. So that was just pretty awesome. And I thought that we should commend those citizens who were working together to make that happen too.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Councilmember Matthew. Anyone else? I have any hands? Councilmember Ime again, Milwaukee.
Thank you, Mayor. And I too wish to thank the Public Works crews for doing a tremendous job. And Alderman Matthews, right, the community response was amazing. I even witnessed some children with their masks on in a front yard, kind of having this little funeral service for a big tree that had fallen down.
No.
They decided to create some ritual because it was such a beautiful, beloved tree in the neighborhood. But anyway, it's good that it wasn't any worse. I just wanted to share something that I read that recently that really made me stop and think. And it goes a little bit, I won't say against, but beyond what Mayor Renner said. And it's a quote from Kendi. And he wrote, "And in the end, what will make America true is the willingness of the American people to stare at their national face for the first time, to open the book of their history for the first time, and see themselves for themselves, all the political viciousness, all the political beauty, and finally right the wrongs or spend the rest of the life of America trying. This can be who we are." And I pledge to strive for such a sentiment. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Ime. Thank you for the moving story and the moving remarks. I appreciate that very much. I'm sure our citizens do. Councilmember Longway. You need to unmute, Mboga.
Yes, note to self, unmute. Well, yeah, I wanted to kind of comment a little bit on the events of last week. I know I have seen similar scenes happen in other countries, but never expected that to happen. To see such scenes in America. But I do think, and as sad and disappointed and shocked as many of us were, I think what's going to be important is for all of us as a nation to draw the lessons from the tragedy. And for me, the main takeaway that I got from it is that words are extremely powerful and they must be used wisely. And so we must spend some time processing what happened, why it happened, and collectively as a nation, just kind of, how Julie said, kind of stare at it, in front of us and stare at ourselves and say, to make sure that something like this never happens again. I'm thankful that this learning is happening as we speak. Interesting story, especially with the younger generations. My son actually mentioned to me that his teacher in class, which I believe was a social studies teacher, kind of deviated from the lesson plan to discuss what happened. And I think it was it's an important moment for younger people to be able to have a civil discussion about something that's happened and has impacted a lot of people and caused some hurt and things like that. So I couldn't be more proud of this teacher, who's a Unit 5 teacher, for taking the initiative to do that. I'm sure there are others who did the same thing. I mean, I was at home and I was doing work, and all of a sudden I got this text that said, "You really need to get to your TV and watch what's going on." So it was really a sad day, but I'm glad that people find some teachable moments, and I think that's the important thing. We need to find teachable moments out of this. And I also, I'd be remiss if I did not thank the public works staff and the Parks and Rec staff for the outstanding job that they've done. I know we usually take that for granted, because they just go about their job and do it quietly, efficiently. But I think, at a time like this, when you have something, an event of such significant magnitude, it takes that for everyone to see exactly the kind of job that they do every single day. So I'm very thankful for that.
Thank you very much. Did anybody else have their hand up, Madam Clerk? Oh, Councilmember Painter.
Thank you. And yes, kudos to Public Works and our Forestry Division. They have done a wonderful job. Thank you, thank you. I know it's been tough. To switch gears, I, like everyone else, condemn the senseless violence that we witnessed last Wednesday. It can't be unseen, and it shouldn't be. We weren't looking at the actions of a few outliers. We were looking at ourselves. We're deeply divided and horribly wounded as a nation. Although it's indisputable that our nation was founded on violence, bloodshed, and racism, we have made progress over the years regarding equality and civil rights. We're far from done, but progress has been made, which is why it's so disturbing to see the events of last Wednesday thrown in front of our faces. It shows us just how far we have yet to go. It seems like everybody's talking about the Constitution as if it's somehow the key to our unity and our wholeness. I believe the thing we really need to focus on is the erosion of our basic social contract. Dehumanization has replaced basic respect, and violence has been justified over dialogue. These dynamics can and must be reversed. We should start locally, and as elected officials, we should lead the way. Toxic rhetoric, invoking people to turn their grief into rightful rage and take to the streets, has to stop. Combating violence with violence never solves the problem, it only compounds it. When we fight, we all lose. It's easy to work people up into a lather. It's hard to bring people together, but that's the course we have to take if we're going to thrive. As Dr. Martin Luther King famously said, hatred cannot drive out hatred, only love can do that. So let's move forward in the spirit of unity and commit to nonviolence while respecting the dignity of others. Let us be a beacon of hope for others to follow. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Very well said. Thank you so much, Councilmember Painter. At this point,
Mayor, you do have a Councilmember Ward with her hand up.
Oh, I'm sorry, Molly. I didn't see it. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. So I've spoken about the events of last week in a couple of other contexts, but I would say again that what happened last week should not be a surprise to anybody who is awake and alive in this country. It's something that really should not have surprised us, even if it shocked us or dismayed us or disgusted us. I think that we as a country have never come to terms with our own national apartheid that we supported as a country for hundreds of years. And perhaps it's time for us to maybe take some lessons from, say, South Africa that learned the lesson a little bit faster perhaps than we have in terms of the importance of needing to look at truth before coming to reconciliation and having some efforts to look the truth squarely in the eye, I think is essential. And that can't happen unless we stop screaming at one another, start listening to one another, and start talking with one another. That can't happen too soon.
Thank you so much. Thank you. All of your remarks are very on the point and moving. Councilmember Boland. Donna?
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. I watched the vigil last week. I wasn't I wasn't going to go out and freeze my little fanny off. So I want to thank Alderman Ward for that prayer at the end. It was very moving. And I think that you nailed it. You nailed it on the head. So I appreciate what you did.
Thank you so much. Okay. At this point, we don't have any executive session items. So I'm going to turn to a motion, to adjourn. Councilmember Matthew, very clear and decisive, and Councilmember Boland as well. Thank you. All in favor, we have a motion made by Matthew, second by Boland to adjourn. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Thank you so much. And we'll see you next week at the same time.